Hello everybody, welcome to North Dakota Car Guy. If you're new to the channel, welcome. My name is Adrian, and in today's episode of Project Dream, we're going to be installing this. Stay tuned. Alright, so after looking and looking, we finally found one of these super mega Big Labs wings. This is actually a really old version of the Big Labs wing, and I'm not sponsored by them. A long time ago, I actually made some concept cars of having a big wing like this on the car. So I'm finally excited to finally have a wing to have on the back of this thing. It's gonna be crazy. Now, before we get to putting the big wing on, we need to first take off the original wing. And the access holes are gonna be through the side here. You have to reach up your hand. There is a nut about here, and then one here, and one here, and one here. And then these are actually Phillips head screws that I actually had to drill out. I've already done the dismantling. Just like so. We'll put this guy over here. Be very careful with these wings because they're made of this weird type of plastic and they will crack and just totally fall apart on you if you're not careful. So this bolt here is going to be the Phillips head, and then there is a nut on the bottom of here, which again, there's a little access hole that you have to put your hand into. It's actually not too complicated. So there's that one, and then this is just a push-in plastic thing, so you just take a little pry tool in here and pop that up. Then right here is also going to be a nut on the bottom. Same thing with this guy here. Same thing as before, just go on the back side, and it's gonna be right up there. Same thing with this guy on the other side. This is just a plastic push-in. That's a nut, and this is a Phillips head that I actually had to also drill out. So I spared you guys that experience. Now, some of you guys may have antennas. The way you get this out is you'll have this little ring on top like this. All you're gonna do with that is actually just unscrew it like that, and then the bottom will fall through. If you look down in here, there's gonna be two nuts where you can see there, and then that has the whole system. Oh, there goes my light. That releases this whole system right here that I'm not showing very well, but that's the whole system, and I just haven't taken that out yet. So once you've gotten the OEM wing off the car, if you have any questions about that, just leave them in the comments below and I'll go ahead and answer to the best of my ability. Now, unfortunately, stuff like this is you're gonna have to take sheet metal under and weld it and do all that Bondo stuff. I'm just gonna be lazy and put wrap over this later, but that's not important for this video. What is important though is how we are going to mount that wing. And the way I've decided to do that is to not install corner mounts. Instead, I'm going to do something extremely controversial, and I bought two brand new Big Labs wing brackets, and we're gonna mount it like so. Honestly, I think it's gonna look freaking dope. And this is what's going to make this video longer than it needs to be. Because originally, here we are. Originally, the wing actually did come with these corner mounts, which go on a little something like that. And you have your little mounting tabs that go like so. But I personally don't really like the look of this, and the fact that you have to drill a nice big hole right into the back. And the fact that this has like no blemishes in the back, I want to keep this as nice as possible. That way, if I do ever decide to put the stock wing back on for like, you know, fuel economy reasons, if we're gonna go on like long drives, I could just take the big wing off and then put the OEM one back on without having any problems and holes showing and all that goodness. So, first step is we need to figure out how we're gonna mount the brackets. Thankfully for us, Mazda has already given us the courtesy of having a mounting bolt way back here already. Look at that. We will have to drill one for the front, but we'll get to that in a minute. Because the first thing you may notice is this is very tippy and wobbly going like this. And I've decided on my own that I want this to be as 90 degrees as possible, which means we're actually going to have to bend this bottom bracket here, which is unfortunate because we'll probably end up wrecking some of this powder coat. So I'm going to do my best to not do that. Alright, so the way I'm going to determine on how much this needs to be bent is I've got this funky little electric angle sensor here. And this thing is super accurate, which is why I would like to use it. So we need to re-zero this on something that's perfectly level. To have it zeroed out, we can then test it on our piece here where there's no indentations, and we're getting about 5 degrees here and about, what is that, 8 degrees there. So it actually increases in angle as we go down. If we lay this flat on our surface, we are at 85. So exactly 85. So all we need to do is we need to bend this bottom piece right here till this says 5 degrees. So let's go ahead and start on that. So what we want to do is we want to take what we're bending it on, measure it out at 3 degrees. So there's going to be a 3 degree difference. So when we put this on here, it should read 3 degrees, which means we don't want to bend it to 5, we want to bend it to 8 degrees. So this should say 3, that's saying 3.6. So we'll just make light bends as we go. I'm such a professional at this. Now we know that this is facing 90 degrees up. Let's go ahead and add one of our bolt holes here. Alright. Make sure you don't get your hands covered in the RX7 diarrhea. Alright, now with this back bolt in, we can add a little bit of pressure. And if we angled our metal right, when you press it in, this whole thing should be like very flush across, which in this case it is. We've got a little bit of a line right here, so I want to put it like right equal to that line. We don't want to go past it though, otherwise we run the risk of hitting our glass here. And now watch me cry when I do this. We're going to take a center punch. Let's get this lined up. Once the center punch is in, we're going for it. And then give it a few more clicks to help guide it. Alright, so with our plate here, you can see where we center punch, we'll move it. There's our center punch. Alright, so go ahead and grab yourself a very small drill bit. That way it doesn't walk and ruin your paint and anything else. Alright, once that's all done, we can add our nut and bolt. Nice and sleek. Then we can add our second plate. There we go. Alright, and then we'll repeat this for the other side. Alright, check that out. Alright, so now that we got both our mounts mounted, now we need to measure the distance across because, fortunately, we aren't able to just go ahead and bolt our wing straight up to it. We've actually got quite a gap to fill, which is okay because I actually knew this was going to happen when we bought it. It's kind of cool to see how it's going to look though so far. Whoa! Mega wing! So the first thing we're going to do is measure across here, and then we will measure across our spoiler from here to up here. 43 1/4. Alright, so now that we got our measurements, these are the measurements of the brackets on the car, and these are the measurements of where the bolt holes are in the wing. So what we need to do is turn both of these into a decimal. I mean, you can if you want. And then we're going to take both of these values and take the bigger number, minus it by the smaller number, and that will give us the total distance that we need to make, but when you cut that in half. So let me explain that here. Alright, so the first equation is figuring out the front mounts. So we're going to take this number minus this, and that is going to give us 5 inches and 1/4. 47 inches minus 41 3/4 will give us 6 inches and 3/4. Now we're not done though. We need to take these and cut these in half as well. This bottom one will be easy since we have 3/4. Half of that would be 3 1/4. But this one, because it's a fourth, is going to be a little weird. 5 1/4 in decimal will give us 525. So if we take that and divide it by half, that'll give us 2.62. So if we round that out on a ruler, that would be 2 5/8. That's really bad, but it's 2 5/8. These are the measurements we need here to figure out how far our bracket needs to come from our mount to the spoiler. Essentially, it's the distance that we need going away from the mount here, because this mount here will mount up to the mounts that are on the car right now and can give you that pivot change. But this measurement here is the measurement from going out like this, since we need to fill in that gap. So if we grab our tape measure here, we could see that these are only about an inch, if even that, if you're counting the curve or not. So we need to go from an inch to 3 1/4 and 2 5/8. That's a lot of distance. So let's go ahead and grab our piece of metal and start mocking stuff up. Alright, so this is roughly how our metal template is going to look. We're going to make some modifications, but I figured out how to measure all the spacing and everything, so I'm going to show you that real quick. First thing you need to measure is the distance from this bolt to this bolt. And then your mounting holes from here to here. So our first mounting holes have a distance of 3 1/2. So I'm just gonna go from 1 4 1/2. Alright, so these are our 2 drill holes for the bottom mount. And looking at this bracket, we should give ourselves about 1/2 inch. Yeah, we want to give ourselves about 1/2 inch up to have enough metal space when we go to bend it. So we'll make a mark there and make a mark here. All right, then we're gonna flatten this out. And this is gonna be our bend line. So right here is gonna be our bend line. And everything down here we can make like adjustable, basically, if we want to do something like this, and then we can drill more holes in the future. But now if we measured the top mount of our spoiler, that would give us 6 inches total. So what we need to do is we need to find our half. So we're gonna take 3.5 inches, which will give us 1 inch and 3/4. So we'll go ahead and mark 1 3/4, which is gonna be right here. So that's our middle line between our 2 drill holes here. And this is if we want to have it even. Then from this line, we're gonna go 1, 2, 3. So right here. This will be our mark for 1 hole, and this will be our mark for the other hole. But now we need to space it out. And that's where this guy comes in with these numbers. We need to make sure we get our bottom and our top right. So since this is gonna be the front of the mount, that distance is the shorter distance. Nope, other way around. So since the front bows out, our front is gonna be the longer distance, which is gonna give us the 2 5/8, and then the one in the back is gonna give us the 3 1/4 because that number is smaller. We're gonna go 3 1/4, gonna be right there. So we're gonna go 1, 2, and 5/8, which is right there. And from here on out, we can kind of just scribble and do what we want with our template. All right, so there is our template. Okay, there we go. All right. Did I seriously flip it around again? And that happened because I flipped it the wrong way. So it needed to be flipped because front is longer. The other way, all of a sudden, it all lines up! Wow! What a revolutionary thought. If you just did it the right way, it didn't screw it up, it just kind of works. Okay. So after trying to bend the first piece, which didn't turn out very well because I wasn't using the right tools, I decided to just go back and have them bend it for me. And I went ahead and got 3 more, the 3 pieces we had originally, because now this one is bent, and that's why you should always get extras. So all we need to do now is find our holes to drill into our metal so we can start getting everything mocked up. We're not gonna go and just make our piece right away in case we need to make some changes to the design. So we'll first figure out where we want to drill our holes.
You gotta mount it like this so it lifts the back of your car up.
Well,
Gets
yeah.
the grip away. I gotta do it the hard way. Like
It doesn't have to be super close.
It's like in the anime, I gotta do it the hard way.
So first, we need to find the middle, which should be 4 inches because it's exactly 8. Yep. So 4 inches, 1 3/4. 1.
So you need 4.5.
Right.
Because you're measuring from 1.
Well, I thought it was cute.
Holy speed.
Now we can test to see.
See if the thing fits in the hole.
Yes. See if it's lined up right. Which it is 100% lined up.
Now you need to put your angle meter on there and make sure that's the right angle, or you can hold it there and I can set the wing on it.
That's what I was gonna say. It should be about there. Oh yeah, see, right on the money.
Oh man.
Alright, so next we need to mirror our two pieces across. So we need to get these two lined up good, like so.
Where's the transfer punch when you need one?
What do you mean? Talking about.
Put down. So
hate 'em.
bad.
Oh
Okay.
man.
Wait, get the duct tape in.
Zip tie it.
Duct tape fixes everything.
Hell yeah. So I know they're spaced out by 6. So we'll just go 4, 3, 7, 3. Okay, so this one's the back. So the back needs to be 3 and 4.
Binding tires?
8. So just line it up with yours. I guess I did. Oh shoot.
It's janky ass.
There's no way I'm gonna run it like that. There's one.
There's 2 more to the left. It's like behind the drill bit. Yeah.
But
You get me one.
you know, when you actually have a box of your own, you feel like you can spend anything like this.
So I'll just make them like a size bigger.
But it's bolted on there.
We get to appreciate it.
Oh,
I think I got that on video. That absolute that's when you know you need to go to bed. No, so I was mounting it and it was like this, and I'm like, why is it like that? And then I saw like the cut and this side. I'm like,
oh my god.
oh.
My god, dude.
Big wing gang.
Wang gang.
Big wing gang.
Wang gang.
And then you're like, when are you ever gonna find another deal like this? Like, you either gonna have to spend a little bit now or way, way, way more later. And I'm like, okay, you're right.
So, when I said that, I was like, you can just spend the $600 now. And I wasn't expecting you to spend another $400 buying all this stuff.
Oh, that wasn't that much. It was more.
Oh, okay.
Alright, so now that we got our wing mounted to our mounts, we've got this big clunky piece of metal, and I want to make this a lot nicer. We're going to paint it black and everything, because right now it's very, very raw. I want to try and get this kind of like seamless transition where it doesn't look like it's too out of the ordinary. I want to mark where the edge of the wing is right here. Alright, now that we've got our piece here, we can kind of start to play around with how we want to do it. Now with this guy, we got to be careful because with this plate being like this, we want it so it's actually adjustable up and down, so we're going to drill more holes. But to be safe, we'll just extend this piece right here. There we go. Like that. So we get one line all the way up there, so we can take this chunk out. Also remember, we should leave as much extra space as possible in case we want to make corrections or changes. Alright, so after completely changing my mind on how I want to do this, I realized that when I drilled these holes, I did them center. Like right dead middle of this plate. But then I remembered I actually wanted to have the wing moved back because then it'll also push it up. So I went ahead and did that, and then used the clamps. I opened up the hatch so that if they fall, it didn't crack the glass. But I'm actually liking the way this looks a whole lot better, mainly because of the way that these are going to stick out. Because if you look at it from a side, this piece actually comes over, and in order to make this arc work, you actually need to cut like at an angle. This piece here is already tucked in pretty far. As you can see, it actually has to fold back inward, so it falls back in this way. So it's actually already doing what I want it to do, and then we'll just round off this edge here. So for this side though, it's sticking out. So what I want to do is follow this line right here that we kind of drew here. But instead of having going all the way out here and having this chunk stick out, we'll have it come all the way up as it normally would here. But then if you look, that's going to be all the way inside here. So what we'll do is we'll just arc it out and around. So we'll get a nice, so it'll kind of come up like this, and when it gets to the top, it'll kind of come out like that, like whoop, whoop, like so. That way we get a lot more of that natural flow look, and we don't get this weird boxiness hanging out on the back end of the wing. Plus it gives us a lot more room to get our hatch open. Like you can kind of see there, it still won't close all the way, but if I tilt the wing back, it'll open and close just fine. Because in the future, this is no longer going to be glass anyway, so it's kind of like it's motivation to do more stuff. Alright, so with much debate, I've got my designs here. So we're going to cut from this line up here, and then when we get our line up here, we can figure out where we want to start cutting this guy here. And I'm going to try and make it kind of bevel around and not have it just straight across. That way it kind of matches the bottom side of the wing, since the wing kind of curves too, so it'll all kind of look nice and uniform. And then we'll remove some of this axis, but I am leaving a little bit of extra room. Now we'll go ahead and switch our disc to this grinding disc to smooth out all the edges. Let's see how that looks on the car. Hopefully we didn't just screw this whole thing. Well, I don't know about you, but looks pretty good. I gotta round this off a little bit more to kind of give it that same shape. But overall, not too bad. Dog. Sheep. It's almost like we could give it even some more, and I wasn't sure. Alright, I think we'll just take it all off and transfer it on the other side.